the street. It's got some sensitive tricks to it. I was thinking about the structure of things, the structure of the world, the structure of the way that the world is as we perceive it. This is such a cool road. There's crawdads across the road all the time. When a car drives by, they stop and they're like, stick out their big claw like they're going to intercept the car. They're like, bring it on, you motherfucker, I've been waiting for you. They're out all the time. The way that this world is structured, it's such a strange thing to really consider and think about it, because we assume that things are the way that they are for, like, it makes sense, right? Or that it has to be. It's like an assumption, like it's the way it is. It has to be. There's no point in fighting it. No point in fighting the way that it is. Why fight the way it is? But it's really quite different the way that the world is from the way that we've made it. The way that the world is much different than what we have made. Who really decides the way the world is? The way that a society is made, and a society meaning that two people I feel like for a society you have to have a minimum of two people that agree to be ruled, and that's it. That there is no other definition. There's no other definition of society. The definition of society is two or more people that agree to be ruled. Now, what they're ruled by, that could be a myriad of things. I would say another person, but it's really not true. It could be something abstract that you're ruled by. It could be an ethos, technically. But it's two people willing to be ruled, agreeing, like, insofar as much as they do it. They don't just like fight to the death or anything. They do it. They go about their day. As far as that goes, two people or more willing to be ruled by someone else, and that is what, or something else. That is what the definition of a society is. I got a squeaky nose. I barely hear that frequency. But the way that the society functions, right? Like, if we look at the FedEx truck, the highways, the cattle, where the cattle set up, like, this whole thing is, it's all really, like, we think that we do things because it's like what we choose to do. It's really just because it serves money. Because in order for you to have the things that you want, that you think that you want, and the options that you want, right? Like, you're over by somebody, and that's just kind of like, okay, fine. But then when I'm not being inconvenienced by that, what do I do then? When do I get to like buy this stuff? In order to get that, you have to go along with the society. And you have to reinforce this entire system, and the system is not an ideal. It is not meaning that it is not something that is created because all the options have been thought of and it's been decided this is like the best, right? For any myriad of purposes that you would, or definitions of best. There's lots of or whatever, or something else is not best. There's something that a central organization, a focus, a cohesion of thought process of like why things happen. Well, that's the difference between our society and what the world is. The world has cohesion. The world is all the same everywhere. The world is unified. The world is peaceful even when it destroys. The world is entirely logical in every single way. Society is the opposite of all those things. It is not uniform. It is not in unison or unified. It is a constant overturning. And when you really break it down, the way that the society is structured to function, right? Like the society, the question of the society, how does it function? It's not the same. There is the world itself. It has an energy source. It is fueled from somewhere. The fuel comes from somewhere, right? Where the fuel comes from is very real, both emotionally, spiritually, and physically. It's very real. Where does the fuel come from society? And how it does things. The society will make nothing and do nothing at all except to perpetuate itself. And if it doesn't perpetuate itself, or if something perpetuates it more efficiently than something else, then it lets go of the other thing. And it takes the thing that most efficiently perpetuates itself. And that is the only metric whatsoever. That is the only metric whatsoever. Everything else doesn't matter. If you're a business in a free market, and then you're providing something thinks that they need, and they're giving you an energy source for it, or a representation of an energy source, and so you're stacking that energy source deep, right? And then the actual business model will start to it leans towards a different way if you start not being competitive. If you start if there's some more efficient, a new technology comes out that's more efficient at doing a certain thing, right? Then your business suffers. The businesses that catch on, they survive. It's a parallel of evolution to the way that the world is. That it actually is, right? It's a parallel, abstract evolution. It is abstract because it is not based on anything. The energy source for the money that runs the society, which is the only thing that runs any of the societies, is money. It is 100% physical. It is measured in money. It's the unit. But it's not even a unit. Not only is it not a unit, not only can it never be a unit, it never was, and it never will be. You can't have a unit if the fucking measurement changes all the time. If your measurement is in constant flux, it can't be a unit. It'd be like saying that, here's a kilogram of sugar. Wait, no, it's an ounce. Wait, no, it's a ton. What is that? That is what money is. It's not real. It has no anything. The true identity of money, of what it really is because it is the fuel source that you have agreed to allow it to rule your world, to be ruled over, because you have agreed to let it rule over you. And you have decided not to pay so much attention to the real world, which is a greater domain than the one that you are submissive to. Meaning that the one you're submissive to is a subdomain. It exists within the greater world that is true. You have agreed to the money to be ruled over by it. But it doesn't even, it's just taking from you constantly. It's taking it from you constantly because wherever it comes from, they take more. They make it up out of thin air. Now yours is worth half as much. It's a relative ratio thing, right? It's always relative. Everything is all relative. Every item, every object of physicality, every thought, every molecule, it doesn't matter what it is, they're all relative. When they change, their identity changes. Well, money is in a complete fucking abstraction, and it isn't physically here. So when you tie physicality to it, and you make something, you don't got rent, so you're fucking sleeping outside. When you do that, and the abstraction is, real in that it's abstraction, and the street is real, and that you're going to be sleeping on is cold, then what happens is, you're going to be fucking doing some serious displacement and rearrangement in society constantly, because that money comes out of fucking thin air. But your chances don't. You see what I'm saying? Growing on trees would be a more down to earth containment of money than what we have, than what is actual. When they say money doesn't grow on trees, if you fucking knew, you'd wish it fucking grew on trees, because then we would have some stability. But because it doesn't, because it's an entirely abstract domain of the mind. I mean, it's of the things that minds think about. It's not even, because it's completely abstract, but yet it's tied to the physical. Wars are fought over it. It's tied to the physical in that way, in the consequence. It's not tied to the physical in terms of value, because it changes. And that's the whole problem. That's the entire problem with money, is that it's supposed to represent something physical in a certain ratio of quantity, and it doesn't. It does not match it. Everybody just assumes it does. So when you assume it does, when you're a plebeian and you assume that it does, you get mad, right? You would be mad if somebody was supposed to pay you $1 and then they don't, right? You would be mad. Well, it doesn't just have to be them not paying you $1. It can also be that they make $2 out of thin air when you were walking around with $1 in your pockets, and then your dollar is 50 cents. That's the same thing. It just applies to everything you would ever spend it on in the future. You see what I mean? It's the same thing. It's just a different way of looking at it. People don't understand this, and this is the nature of all the money. This is why it's a problem. It's a huge problem. There is no constant measure. It's absolutely a disaster. There's nothing that you could do. You can never make a. Hold that thought. I gotta go pick some shit up.